Everything is awesome in a dream world. Let's get into this one. Hello, welcome to the RevelatorAlf podcast. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video or the podcast and share it around and listen on all the other kind of platforms, Spotify, Apple, YouTube now, and also on Google Podcasts as well. So go check that out there. So this diatribe, as it were, this monologue is all about everything is awesome in the world. Everything is awesome, but it's a dream world. And I'm kind of puzzled by a lot of things that I hear and that I see online, especially, or I read as well, where there's always an ultra positive spin. There's no downside to this. It's all on the up. It's all on the up. And I just wonder, well, who are they trying to kid? Who are they trying to fool? Now, we kind of see this in fandom, right? We see this in when you're a fan of a particular, it could be a sports team, it could be you're a fan of Taylor Swift, you're a Swiftie, right? You know, nobody can say anything bad against Taylor Swift, you know, for the Swifties, of course, you know, because you're just so tuned in to having a positive impression of that person, of that football team, of, let's say, this boxer, of a particular style of music, of a type of car that you drive, for example. People can get very territorial about a motorcycle or a car or a house or an area which they live, can't they? And it's very interesting where people only see the positivity and they ignore the negativity or the balance. Now, in everything that I do, whether it's I'm talking about motorcycles on a YouTube channel or anything else that's happening in society or sports, I always like to approach it from a balanced point of view. And I've always done this, whether it's in writing, blogging, or just making general content. I always try and have a balanced view. I don't always believe the positivity, I don't believe the hype, and I certainly don't always believe the negativity as well. But I certainly do want to seek the truth. I'm a bit of a truth seeker. So let's just say, for example, I ride a motorcycle, I ride a Harley Davidson, right? If you watch my motorcycle channel, RevelatorAlf, you'll know that, okay? But I always found that there was a lot of overemphasis on positivity for Harley Davidson, the brand. And if you came from a different perspective, not necessarily overly negative, but just somebody who was questioning or somebody who was bringing an alternative point of view, you're immediately labeled as being negative. Now, I kind of liken this to the Matrix, okay? This is my take on it. So the Matrix, you're in the Matrix and you don't know you're in the Matrix. So everything is awesome, right? Everything is wonderful. You're just living your life and you're just doing whatever you do. Now, obviously, some things might not be awesome in the Matrix. It really depends what that life is for you, of course, right? But that's by the by. I'm talking about the film, the fictional film, right? So you're in the Matrix. Then somebody goes into the Matrix and offers you an option. They say red pill, blue pill, or whatever it is. And they say, one take the one pill and you'll just stay in the Matrix and you'll never know reality. Take the other pill and you'll go down that rabbit hole and you don't know what's going to happen, but at least you'll know it'll be the real world, right? So people say, oh, okay, right. Neo, he took the other pill, right? And he said, right, I'm going to find out what's going on. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about coming out of the Matrix. I'm talking about when you've gone out of the Matrix. And there's a couple of other characters there. The one that was the traitor who wanted to go back into the Matrix because he hated the real world so much that he couldn't stand the suffering, the dirt, the hate, whatever it was. He couldn't stand the struggle. He just wanted to be put back into the Matrix and have a great life. And that's what he wanted. Okay. So I look at it from that perspective. People living in the real world, but they don't want to accept the real world, or they're just so blinded by the dream world that that's all they believe in. That's all they want to believe in, that positivity. They're ignoring everything else. So whichever way you look at it, whether you're in the Matrix, as it were, and you're totally oblivious to the real world and you just want to stay there, or you're out of it and you're desperate to get back into the dream world, either way, you're kind of looking for a better view. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong to be positive. I'm one of the most positive people out there, certainly for myself and certainly for my outlook on life. However, I always approach things with a certain amount of balance. And I kind of look at things in a different way. So when I look at, let's say, a business, whatever business it is, or a company or a product, I'll say, well, okay, this is a really good product. or it's a really bad product. But hey, it might be really expensive, or it might have certain flaws, or it may not work in that way. For me, that is balance. Just looking at something in an objective point of view and being less about being blinded by the product or my overall feelings about the brand. Now, if we bring this back to motorcycles, for example, I love my motorcycle. I love all sorts of motorcycles, right? I'm not just a one brand motorcyclist. Many people are, though. Many people are. That's all they want. They only want to ride a Triumph. They only want to ride a BMW, a Honda, a Kawasaki, a Harley Davidson, an Indian, whatever it is. That's all they're interested in. They don't care about anything else. So that's fine. There's no issues there. I'm not made up that way. When I look at anything in society, whether it's politics, whether it's public health spending, I always kind of try and look at both sides of the argument. And many people can't. Many people can't do that. I know many people who love their politics and they are blinded by one particular point of view, one political party, one way of thinking. In the UK, around Europe, or in the United States, or any other country, you have this division by blinkered people who either go the right or the left, for example. They only believe one way, and if you believe the other way, then you're an alien, you're a devil, you can't be trusted. We're gonna demonize you, we're gonna alienate you. And the same is coming back the other way. The minds will never meet here. There'll never be true discussion, true conversation, a meeting of the minds, if people are just so blinkered and so steadfast in their own beliefs. They have to be able to see the other side, or at least be able to engage with the other point of view. And just listen to the other point of view and at least say, well, okay, I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying, but I'll listen to you. I'll listen to your point of view. Many people are just not even prepared to listen anymore. Many people are not even prepared to read a long passage or a book or watch a longer video or listen to a longer podcast or anything like that. People just don't seem to have the time, or they don't want to spend the time to engage with things for a lot longer. And I get criticized on a lot of my videos, for example, for waffling or for not showing images or that kind of thing. I've made a purposeful shift in the way I'm producing content now, and more towards podcasts and more towards just talking directly to the camera, as opposed to trying to bring in lots of imagery, lots of other videos. So I've done that in the past. I don't need to keep on doing it. But people want the short, snappy visuals. They want that short, concise content. And fine, that may work, but it's not necessarily delivering good content, and it's not necessarily engaging. Now, this is what I find with things like Instagram, which I'm not on, and TikTok, which I'm not on. In fact, I'm not on social media at all. I cancelled all my accounts last year. I wasn't really using them properly anyway. I never really have. I've never really been that into the social media aspect. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to get rid of it completely. So the only thing I do is YouTube, and I've got the website, of course. But that's the only thing I do. But it's amazing how many people are on those platforms, or how many people watch content on those platforms, and they believe everything that's being said. You could say the same for YouTube as well, or any other thing. You could be reading a blog and you take what is written as gospel. And I have to say this to members of my family as well. So look, just bear this in mind, that what you're seeing or what you're reading may not necessarily be true. This is just one person's spin or one person's point of view. You don't know how much research they've done. You don't know how accurate any of this is. You just don't know if they're just saying this for clickbait. And we see this time and time again, where people are producing content and it's absolute bollocks. It's absolute nonsense what they're saying. But they're getting a horde of people just liking and sharing. Now, some people love that. Some people just love making content that kind of gets a rise out of people. They like to just throw in grenades every now and again and just get people to either love or hate what they're doing. Some people just do it for comedic value. Others people do it for some people are doing it because they're so ignorant they have no idea what they're saying. But if you don't approach that kind of content, or if you don't approach anything in life with a kind of an inquisitive mind, or somebody who questions, or you're a bit of a skeptic, then you're just going to take on board, you're going to blindly take on board whatever somebody's saying. So a case in point, for example, The last few years, I ride a Harley Davidson motorcycle, and I've always tried to say in my content, well, listen, I ride a Harley Davidson, but I'm not a loyalist. I'm not a brand follower. I just like that particular motorcycle. Yeah, I like the brand, but I'm not a fan of the brand. I'm not a fan of any motorcycle brand. In fact, I could easily go from a Harley Davidson to a Triumph, which I've done. I've ridden Triumphs before. I would seriously consider going to BMW. I would seriously consider going back to a Japanese motorcycle as well. So the brand of motorcycle is not really the thing that pulls me. It's the actual motorcycle itself, and whether one, I like the style. The other is whether I like the way it rides, and then I got to look at other factors as well. In terms of parts availability, how long has it been on the market for? Well, how much does it cost in the first place? So all these things are. You could say there are things that hold me back from just jumping in and going for that purchase. But that's where I look at things. I kind of look at things as, okay, is that motorcycle, is that product right for me? Can I see myself living with that product on a daily basis? I don't look at the product or the company that produced the product as some kind of deity. I don't look at it to say, oh, wow, they're so amazing. Everything is wonderful. Everything is awesome in this dreamlike existence. Because it isn't. So over the last few years, ever since owning a Harley Davidson, I would kind of make content and say, this is great. Look, this is great. That's fantastic. This is how you do that. Oh, I really love this. I'm going on a ride here. Great. But I'd also make lots of content and say, actually, do you know what? This is not so good. Or I've heard this is not so great. Watch out. People have been telling me about this. And also, I get labeled as being negative, even from other YouTubers. Other YouTubers would turn around and say, you're negative. The reason why you're not doing well is because you're negative. And they fail to see what I'm saying. No, I could pick any other YouTube channel out there, a motorcycle YouTube channel I'm talking about here. And they will spout some absolute nonsense. And they will try and defend what they're doing, saying, no, I am being fully 100% honest here. What they fail to realize is that us who are producing content, we know all the tricks. We know what's going on behind the scenes. We know all this because guess what? We're involved in it as well. Now, we either choose to do that or we choose not to do it. We choose to adopt a certain style or we don't. And I've always said this about YouTube, and if you watch my channel or listen to my podcast, I kind of say this on a regular basis. YouTube, for example, should be YouTube. It's about you. It's about your take on life. It's about what you're doing and your view, your perspective of anything, of whatever you're doing. Now, you could be entertaining, it could be factual. It doesn't make any difference. But essentially, that's what it is. And people, I think, have lost their way on YouTube. They're trying to play the commercial angle the whole time. They're trying to get into the good books of a big company, let's say like Ford or Apple or Harley Davidson or any other big company, because they just want to have that association so that they can just keep that content flowing. Now, some people say, no, I'm not being biased at all. Well, the thing is, just the mere fact that you're being taken to a certain place by the company, they're paying for it, means that you are biased. You can't get away from it, even though you will make it painfully clear that you're trying to be unbiased. You're going to be positive. At some level, you're going to be positive. Now, that's not to say that they're lying. It could be that they are genuinely being positive. But when you're positive and then positive and positive, and you're not being overtly negative, then we know there's an issue. So let's just say with Harley Davidson, okay, we'll just continue the theme. Harley Davidson for this year, 2024. Lots of content coming out because they just produced new bikes. Now, I would gladly say, yes, there's some good positive things here. But I'm not going to sit there and say, hold on a minute, everything is rosy. What about this? What about that? What happened to this bike? We're still charging a lot of money here. Haven't we lost something there? What Harley Davidson doing there? So you could just look at things from both sides. You can say, look, yes, there is balance there. There's some good things, but there's also some pretty crappy things. Some people are just saying, oh, we're going to take the biggest, most expensive product that any company has, and that's what everybody should be buying. Oh, yeah, this is really great. Or they just show somebody who's gone out and bought a brand new motorcycle and say, hey, look at me, I've just bought this brand new motorcycle and it's the most expensive one on the dealership. Well, great, good for you, there's no problem. But this kind of fuels this false impression that everything is good. Everything is great. If we take one particular model of a car or a motorcycle, and it's released on 1 year, for example, or a single year, the previous year model might still have lots and lots of problems with it that haven't really been sorted out. The brand new model that comes out has so many issues, so many glitches, so many failings that you'd be a fool to buy it. And this is what we kind of term in kind of automotive world, that first year product, or any product, that first year product, or this first 2 years. Try not to buy the product in the first couple of years, because it's going to have glitches and they're going to have to work through those problems as well. The product or the motorcycle, the car, is probably going to have lots of recalls as well. So you'd be very lucky if anything doesn't happen within the first couple of years. So that's why, we'd always say this in another industry which I'm involved in, that actually when a brand new product is released to the public, that's when it starts to get field tested. It's field tested for quite a few years. And there's always problems that are never even encountered, never even thought about. But it comes back from public use of this product to say, actually, no, this is a problem here, it needs to be fixed. Or this has failed here, so on and so forth. So this is the real world. It's coming out of the matrix and seeing what things are in reality. We could all be ultra positive about things. We could all have a positive outlook on things. But that's kind of blindly following something without taking in the reality of the situation. And this is where I look at a lot of things in not only my life, but in society as a whole, but the things that I'm involved with, or the products that I buy. A phone, for example. Yes, I get a brand new phone, and then I'm fooled into thinking, you know what, I'll just go and buy the brand new model, because my other model, the previous generation model, which was still really good, all of a sudden, which was supposed to be waterproof, got dunked in the sea, and all of a sudden it died. Oh, crikey, it died. Okay, I'll get my money back, right? Or I'll be able to exchange it. No, it's gone past the 1 year, so you shouldn't be putting it in water, and you can't guarantee it after water. And also, get this, it really depends how the phone gets into the water, which determines whether it's going to survive or not. I can't fully remember exactly what excuse they gave, but they say if the phone is submerged underwater, that's fine. But if it suddenly gets dropped into water and quickly taken back out again, then it doesn't like it. And I'm saying, where's the logic that? It's either waterproof or it isn't. So we had a few fun and games. In the end, I didn't have a leg to stand on. I always read that small print and say, well, you know what, I've got to get a new phone. But I can't say that this brand new phone is any better than the last one. Certainly the way I look at it. It cost me, a lot of money just to get it. But is it any better? And this is what I always say to people. I say, look, listen, you've got a brand new product coming out for this year, but is it any better than the one that came out last year, or the one 2 or 3 years ago? My take on phones is that as long as it's still working and it suits your purpose, you don't need to update it. This is exactly the same with cars and with motorcycles. As long as it's still working and you're happy with it, then there's no real reason. I also look at this from a product quality. Let's just say you've got a motorcycle from 2 years ago or last year, and they're bringing out the brand new year model, but there's no changes to it. It's what is known as a carryover model. Well, there's no point in buying a brand new motorcycle for even more money when you can buy last year's motorcycle with very low mileage, or it's just a motorcycle that hasn't been sold, and you probably get that as a discount. There's no point in buying a new motorcycle. You might as well just buy the older model. But we get hoodwinked into thinking that newer is better. We get told by salesmen or by a company or by marketing campaigns, the new is the better. This is what we should be looking for. This is what we should be aiming for. We should be bigger, better, newer, shinier than the next person, than our neighbors, than the people we work with. Everything should be newer. Everything should be better. And if you buy into that, you'll be happier. You'll be a better person. You'll be proud of yourself. Your wife will want to fuck you. Your children will love you. You know, that's not the case, right? So all the things that we do is to enhance this positivity, so we kind of buy into things. We keep on buying into things. Now, corporations, companies, and media, for example, will try and sell you this positivity. Of course they do, because they're trying to sell their products. And there's no issues there, because that's what they're there for. You know, name me a company that doesn't want to sell their products. Well, I'll tell you, a company that goes bankrupt, right? So if you're looking at it from that point of view, you know that that company, that service, that political party, they're trying to sell me something. That sports team manager, they're selling me something. Everybody is trying to sell you something, and they're not going to tell you what is wrong. They're going to tell you what is right. And if you believe what you're being told, in fact, everything is right, everything is great, everything is awesome, whatever I've got here, it's a brand new product and it's fantastic. If you buy into that positivity, that overwhelming blindness of positivity, then you're doing yourself a disservice. Now, I'm not saying that you can't be positive about a product or a company or whatever. Hey, fill your boots. That's entirely up to you, of course. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I'm a fan of many different companies. I'm a fan of many different products. And I'm a fan of many different sports and sports teams. For example, let's say my football team. I absolutely love them. I adore them. But I'm as frustrated with them as any other fan will be with their team as well, for example, right? It's just the nature of the beast. And this is kind of where I look at things and say, well, actually, I'm a fan of this team, but I'm also one of their biggest critics as well. We all are. We all love our team. We always want them to do well. But if they're not doing well, or if they're delivering a bad product to us, a faulty product, a faltering product, then we're kind of asking questions, not only of the players, but also of the management, of the coaching, of the structure, of the club, of the ownership of the club. We start asking lots of questions. And then we get completely dissatisfied if this faltering continues. But the flip side is, if they're winning and if they're delivering a product in terms of either results or great performances, then all of a sudden we're not going to be asking those questions. We're going to be taken along for the good ride, okay? We're going to jump on that bandwagon. Yeah, everything is great. Everything is awesome. That awesomeness that we're all feeling because our sports team is doing well could be masking a real hidden truth there, and actually we've just been really lucky, or the rest of the teams have been really poor, or do you know what, we haven't actually had any injuries this year and that's the reason why we're doing well, or guess what, we've been playing the bulk of the lesser teams this season so far, and actually we haven't played any of the big teams. We haven't played them away yet. All of a sudden we throw in a bit of fixture congestion, a few injuries, and then a few little disappointments here and there. Then all of a sudden we hit the backside of the curve and we start faltering again. And this is not only in sports this happens, but also in life. We have ups and then we have our downs. And so looking at things from just on the up, whilst it might make you feel better and it might make you think that everything is awesome and yeah, we're just going to hit the day like it's tomorrow and all that kind of stuff, the reality is it's great to be on that projection. It's great to be on that trajectory. It's great to have that mindset. But you still got to look at what is going on behind the curtain. You still got to see what is really happening. What are you actually being told? If I go into a shop, or if I go into a dealership, whether it's a car or a motorcycle, or I want to go and buy a bike, I know that they're going to try and sell me that motorcycle. They're not going to tell me, do you know what, this bike is, I think it's pretty good, but actually this is wrong with it, this is wrong with it, this is wrong with it. Guess what? Because I'm going to go, well, hold on a minute, why would I buy that bike? I'm walking out the door. They're going to skim over the kind of negative aspects and some, let's say, questions that you might ask, but just push the positivity as well. And that's what a good salesman or salesperson does, saleswoman does, right? That's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to try and give you the positive spin, and that's what their job is, of course. The best salespeople, salesperson, man, woman, are the ones that give you an honest verdict, but they also give you alternatives as well and say, look, what is it you're actually really after? Okay, if you've got this product, this does really well with this, but not so well with this. If you take this product, it does really well with this, but not with this. However, this product here, it's a little bit of that, and it's a little bit of that, and it might be better for you. It might not be the best in that, but if you're not so concerned with that, fine. It might do a lot better in this thing, but actually, do you know what? If you're more towards that, so they kind of fine tune where you're at and what you want, and then look at the products that are going to be best suited to you. Because most products will not fulfill your needs 100%. You've got to be so lucky to have that. If I buy a motorcycle for now, let's say I go and buy a BMW, a brand new BMW, I'll live with it for a year, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of issues with it, lots of problems, either technical problems or something might go wrong with it, or there's going to be problems with the bike not suiting my needs, or my riding style doesn't match up with that bike. You always find little things, whether you have to make adjustments here. And that's why the motorcycle car aftermarket business is so huge. That's why YouTube is so huge for finding fixes for little things, either around the house, whether on your car, whether on your bike. That's why it's such a huge thing where people get these products and they find there's a problem. The field testing shows that there is a problem with the matrix. There's a problem with the product. There's a problem with the message. You were just told positivity the whole time. How many times have you heard people say, I was lied to at the dealership, I was lied to in the shop, I was lied to by the salesman, they told me this? Well, guess what? Yeah, of course they did. Of course they were going to lie to you. I've always said this about lots of different things, but certainly, let's say buying a new product, whether it's a motorcycle, car, doesn't make a difference, right? I say this, and I say this to people, or I say this to anyone. Before you step into that shop, you need to have done your research into that product. If you blindly go into the shop and say, right, today I'm going to go and buy something, I have no idea what it's like, I have no idea what I'm looking for, then you're kind of starting off at the wrong foot. If you go into shop with no idea, but you're going in for research, that's different, because you're trying to find out, feel out a bit of information, see what the salesperson says to you, or that kind of thing. Sometimes you go into these shops and the salespeople are so young, and you think, come on, what are you going to be able to tell me? Now that could be a bit ageist here, actually, because that young person might know so much more than you as an older person. Well, I do not know, especially when it comes to tech. The young kids know so much more about things than you do. But again, you still got to see if what they're telling you is going to match your needs, or if it satisfies what you're looking for in a product. So you go into a shop, a dealership, whatever it is, you want to buy a computer, a motorcycle, whatever it is. You need to have done your research to see, okay, what's it like? Does it have this specification? Or how long am I likely to be riding this for, or working on this computer for, or what's a reputation? Look on YouTube on the reviews, which you kind of got to take at face value a little bit, because I say there's always this overly positive spin on things if people are not being 100% honest. So you go in with the tools, you go in armored, and you know what the answers are going to be coming back. What you're really looking for is whether the salesperson is going to acknowledge the negativity, or they're going to tell you anything that is the real world, the reality of owning this bike or owning this computer or something like that. That's what you're really looking for. You want to go in with your knowledge, your research, ask your questions, try and get a deal, find out what the salesperson is doing. And if they're lying to you, and you know that they're lying to you, you shouldn't really be buying that product from that person or from that company. You need to be a lot more savvy about these things. You need to be able to go in, say fully prepared, know what this bike is all about, or this product is about, this computer is about, but really now you want to get hands-on. You want to get more of an intimate feel about it. You want a more in-depth analysis of it from the people who know, right? Sometimes you go into these places and you ask these people, and you soon realize, guess what? You know a lot more than they know. You know, because you've done all this research and you've been single focused. You've got tunnel vision into, I've got to research just this product. I'm going to go in there and see what they have to say. And I've found this out so many times. You go in with so much knowledge that you've got in your brain, and you realize this person who's trying to sell me this product doesn't know because guess what, they got about another 30 or 40 or 100 different products, whatever, that they have to kind of have a little bit of knowledge about, whereas you're just going in for one product. So you've done your research, so you're already at an advantage, but you're already knowing what is good about it, what is not good about it, and you have to decide whether you can deal with the not so good, and whether you're going to really like the good. So that's why you're making an appraisal of this product, whether it's good for you. But if you go in there with just loving the bike or loving the product or the brand without knowing what you're buying or knowing what you're getting yourself into, then yeah, you could come away, say 6 months later, know there's loads of problems with the bike, know that this bike isn't right for you, and then you could immediately start thinking, do you know what, I was lied to, I was sold a lemon, I was done this. Now, you could legitimately feel that, and that could have happened, of course. You might have been told one thing, but the reality is something else is completely happening. I mean, this happens all the time, right? You go in to buy a motorcycle, for example, a Harley Davidson, let's just call it that, but it could be a Triumph, it could be anything else, it could be a Ford, it could be a Ferrari, it could be anything, right? You go in to buy this vehicle, and you do the deal, you thought everything's great, and then all of a sudden you take the vehicle home, you ride it home, drive it home, and a couple of weeks later you got a little glitch with it, and you think, got to take it back to the dealership again, they got to fix this. Then all of a sudden they say, well, hold on a minute, no, that's not covered. You go, what do you mean it's not covered? Or they say, well, do you know what, yeah, there's something wrong with it, but we don't know how to fix it. Well, what do you mean you don't know how to fix it? Or they say, well, do you know what, you're going to have to wait a long time now because there's no spare parts for that. Or you're going to have to, hold on a minute, we're going to have to go back to the head office, or we're going to have to go back to the manufacturer, the main manufacturer, and we've got to get them to approve what's going on. Now, sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes you just go into your dealership and say, look, there's a problem with this. You're going to look at it and they say, okay, fine, yeah, no problem. We'll just swap that out, bish, bash, bosh, and it's done. And I've got to say, in most of my experiences, it's been like that. It's been no problem at all. But every now and again, something happens. But the amount of people online who will say, do you know what? It's not great. I'm never going to buy that product again. I'm done with Apple. I'm done with Ford. I'm done with Harley Davidson. I stand them anymore. Their products are rubbish. They're overpriced, all this sort of stuff, right? You could label these accusations at so many companies. And the problem is that your mindset swings from, let's say, an overly positive view to being an overly negative view. All you're seeing is the negativity because you have a negative impression of that company or that product, let's say, or certainly the after sales service that you received just wasn't good. It just wasn't good enough. And you're disappointed and you're frustrated. So you're starting to feel, do you know what? To hell with this. To hell with this. I'm not standing for this. And anybody who asks me, I'm never going to give them a positive spin. It's always going to be negative because you've been hard done by, right? You feel you've been hard done by. You think you've been lied to. You think that the service that you've got is wrong for a really expensive product. Now, what is expensive? Now, expensive to me might be pocket change to somebody else, or pocket change to me is really expensive for somebody else. So these labels are kind of hard to quantify sometimes. But we can all agree that an expensive product for most people is an expensive product, right? If we're saying that the only way you can buy that product is on some kind of finance deal, then you know you can't afford it. You can't afford to buy it as a cash purchase, right? So this is what happens. So this is what happens with most automotive, and certainly happens with houses, right? When you buy a mortgage, you buy a house, but you don't buy it outright. What very few people do. You buy it on a mortgage. So exactly the same with a motorcycle, with a car. You kind of go on a finance deal, a leasing deal, but you're still expecting a good product. And when that product fails to deliver, then all of a sudden you think, do you know what? I've spent an absolute fortune here. I've overpaid. I've bought into the positivity. I've bought into the hype. I've bought into some kind of community that everybody is your friend and everybody who rides these motorcycles are going to have your back. And you're going to have some kind of legions of followers or legions of comrades with you wherever you go. And the reality is that just isn't the case for most people. Most people don't have this. Most people don't have this all the time, I should say. There's always going to be some kind of reality check. And this is what I say, hey, listen, have your positivity. Believe in what you want to believe. Be a fan of whatever you want to believe. But also have a bit of a reality check as well. And this is why I've got to laugh at some people. I've got to laugh at some of the comments. I read all the comments on my content, whether it comes from my website or YouTube videos or whatever it is. I read them, but I don't answer them anymore. There's just too many. But I take note of what people are saying. And it never ceases to amaze me how people will defend something that they have no link to, that they feel that they have to defend the honor of an inanimate object, of an object or a company. They have to defend them. Well, why do you have to defend them? What do you think that company is going to defend you? Do you think that they care about you? Do you think your dealership cares about you? At a corporate level, they don't really care about us as individuals. As a customer base, of course, they want us to be happy because they want us to keep on buying the product, right? Or buying new products. They don't want us to buy old products. They want us to buy new products. That's the game. So they want to keep us sweet, right? So they're going to try and walk this line. They're trying to balance their way through treating us well, delivering good products, but also not treating us too well or not delivering us products so great that they last a lifetime because they want to sell us the next product, right? They're constantly selling us the dream. So some people feel that they're always on your side, that they're always trying to have your back, and they're always kind of try and deliver for you. And we know that just isn't the case. Now, as you get older in life, maybe you kind of understand this. And as you get, past a certain age where you just don't buy into the hype anymore, or you just don't think about spending 30, 40, 50,000 pounds, dollars, shekels on a motorcycle, for example, is a good idea. All of a sudden you start to realize that, hold on a minute, what the hell is going on here? What is all this? What is this company that I've been a fan of for so many years? Then all of a sudden you think, now you still might be a fan of the brand. You still might be a fan of their motorcycles. In fact, let's say I'm a Triumph rider. I only ride Triumphs because that's what I like. There's no problem. I've been riding a Harley Davidson for a while. I'm really kind of toying, actually, should I get a trade-in for another Harley Davidson or do I get another one? I've been on this sort of trip for quite a few months now, and I've been looking at lots of different bikes. If you watch my YouTube channel of last year, the tail end of last year, I was kind of on this trip. I was trying lots of different bikes as well. So I'm looking at what are these bikes? Are they good? Are they bad for me? Not are they good, bad bikes objectively. I'm sort of looking at, for me, can I get on with them? Is that product going to be good enough for me? But I always looked at this from a point of view that I'm not going to trust in the hype. I don't want to believe the hype. I just want the facts. I want the facts. I want the real world experiences of these machines. I want the good reports and the bad reports, but I also want to experience it for myself. So this is where I look at Harley Davidson, for example. For me, would I buy another one? Not sure, but it doesn't mean that I'm anti the brand or anti the company or anti any other Harley Davidson just because I might be looking at another brand. Far from it. It doesn't mean that just because I stick with Harley Davidson, for example, or buy a brand new one, or another used bike, or even just stick with the bike that I've got, right? It doesn't mean that I dislike any other motorcycle, or that I've suddenly just turned my back on all the negativity and I'm just so positive about Harley Davidson. I'm their biggest fan. Far from it. It's just, as I said right at the start, it's the product and whether I like the product and does it deliver what I want from it. And if that's the case, great. But I don't have this fanboy reaction to it. I don't have this kind of relationship. Some people do. Some people, as I say, they feel they have to defend the honor of that company. They feel that they have to somehow always be positive about something. And we know this is one of the reasons why I just got rid of social media as well, and not because of my input or any kind of input that was coming back towards me. Is just what I see. It's the kind of comments from people or the posts from people, lots of different people in all walks of life, and you think it's almost like a bit of a virus, so it's a virus of either of hate, of negativity, of misinformation, or it's a kind of an elixir of positivity. They're both the same kind of mechanism, but one is just driving you one way and one is just driving you another way. They're forcing you into polar arguments or polar explanations, or what you're seeing is polarized, as opposed to having some kind of balance there. So that's why I kind of got rid of all the social media completely. But if you still look at social media, you'll see this happening. You'll see what it is. But companies and corporations will use social media either for their direct marketing themselves, or they will try and engage with people who are popular on social media just to promote their product. And this has been happening for years and years and years. And this is where I've always had a bit of a problem with, let's say, the influencers or with people who just blindly selling you products, because that all of a sudden they don't really have this product. They don't really necessarily like this product. Now, I'm not actually talking, funny enough, I'm not talking about whether YouTube videos or on Twitter, on TikTok, whatever, the videos are sponsored by companies. Because if they say, look, hey, this video, this thing is sponsored by this product. Look, they sent me this. I'm going to try it out. I don't have an issue with that at all. What I have a problem with is if all of a sudden you get a product and then you're lying to yourself and you're lying to your audience. Because your audience is the most important thing. And many people have come unstuck with this in the past. They're producing content and they're just being overly positive. Nothing is wrong with this product. Oh yeah, I use this every day. It's great. No, you don't. You're lying. Oh, it never does anything wrong. Oh, it whitens my teeth so much. No, it doesn't. It's rubbish. This is a solution to all my money needs. No, it isn't. It's absolute rubbish. So there are things there that you think, well, okay, this is absolute nonsense. But companies will use that, and then they will use people online. They'll use influencers. They use people with any kind of audience to say, we want you to sell our product, or we want you to push our product. Now, sometimes it could be overtly that here's a product, try it out, use it. Or, hey, you can get this at a discounted rate if you want it, or we'll give you this for free, all this kind of stuff. As soon as this kind of happens, then all of a sudden you've got to be very, very careful as to what kind of relationship you have. I always was very steadfast in my relationship with companies to say, if you want to send me a product, no problem at all. You send it to me free of obligation. I'll review the product, I'll look at the product, and if I like the product or dislike the product, I will decide what kind of content I will produce. Sometimes it will be positive, sometimes it will be negative, sometimes it will just be balanced. It will just be a balance. Now, you can always find some kind of positivity and always some kind of negativity in any product, right? It could be a glasses case. Oh, yeah, I like the colour, it's great, but look, my glasses rattle around in it. Yeah, nah, it's no good. It's that kind of thing. But so some companies would engage with that. They kind of like that. And other companies won't. They only want the positive view. And they'll kind of make stipulations and say, no, you can't say this. You can't do that. many content creators, YouTubers and TikTokers, whatever, they've actually fallen foul of some kind of contractual obligation with companies where they start talking about things that might be slightly controversial. Then the company on their case and say, hold on a minute, you can't talk about that because that has a negative impact on the product which you're associated with, namely our product. So you've got to take that down. Hold on a minute. No, what I decide to do has got nothing to do with you. So all of a sudden, there's a few issues here. Or the company might say, well, hold on, we're not going to pay you now. We're not going to pay you because you've done this. Or you produce an overly positive bit of content and they've kind of won. They've kind of won you over. And then they feel, do you know what? We don't have to pay you anymore. No, we're not going to do anything. And then all of a sudden you think, well, okay, I'm not going to keep on producing content for you anymore because I'll do something else. And then I also, well, why? Why aren't you producing content for us? I don't work for you. I am my own person. This is my kind of business. I'm not your employee. So it's a bit of a minefield. And it can be a bit of a battlefield as well. And knowing where to step. You're going to step one direction, it could all blow up in your face. You step another direction, you could walk the righteous path, but you could also be led astray as well. So the positivity that you get, or even sometimes the negativity that you get, you got to look at the agenda and you got to look at what's behind it. And so social media, you can't believe a lot of this stuff. We already know with the likes of Instagram, for example, that the false impression that a lot of that gave. I can't really comment about it now or any of the social media because, as I say, I'm off it. I'm just completely off it. And as I say, one of the reasons was it wasn't because of the negative attention that I was getting or the content that I was producing and the reaction to it. It was more about what I was witnessing, not only from individuals or groups of individuals, or how companies and corporations and politicians and governments were kind of just getting in on the act. And I thought, you know what? I first thought there was a problem with social media when quite a few years ago now, I think probably within the first couple of years, the first year of Facebook and Twitter, when you had your broadcast news, your television news, then all of a sudden you'd see, then at the bottom of the screen, you'd see, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and it's still there. It's still there to this day. But the very first time I saw that, I thought, hold on a minute. They're now getting into social media. They understand it. They want it. They want this piece of the pie as well. And the problem is that the social media, even YouTube has changed completely. And that the kind of content that I produce largely is kind of old-fashioned. It's kind of, they don't want to see that anymore because they want big production stuff. They want professional. It's almost like the TV companies have come onto YouTube now. Big production, films, whatever. They've come onto here. People are producing dramatic works, comedy works, music, whatever it is, purely for YouTube now because they know that's where their audience can be. So the way platforms have been used, the way social media has been used, has definitely changed and evolved over the years. But the way people talk about, let's say, products, the way they will try and sell you an illusion, sell you a dream of not only how their personal life is, oh yeah, my life is awesome, oh look, I'm going here, I'm going there, but the reality is they're a bit of a basket case, or they're a bit of a broken individual, or they might be drunk in a gutter every night or high on drugs every night, that their life is a complete shambles. They won't show you that, they only show you the positivity. So this is what I started to see on a regular basis, and I thought, it's not for me. This just isn't for me. I'd rather not even think about that and just do my own thing. In fact, when I talk about things like YouTube and things, the mechanics, and I understand everything that goes on in the YouTube world, and I can look at any content creator or any video or any YouTube channel, for example, and I can look at their video and I can say, I can see what you've done there, I know what's happening there, I can see what's going on behind the scenes, I know how you've edited that. So because you've just been doing it so long, you might not know every single thing, but you kind of know why they've done it and what's happening there. It's the same with companies, how companies have infiltrated not only the products that they're showing in terms of product placement, let's say, but also in terms of how they've influenced how people are describing their products as well. And no more so has this happened in the automotive world, in the motorcycle world, in tech products worlds as well, where the company will send a big YouTuber, for example, or somebody who's quite well known in that niche, in that space, and they'll send them the product, or they'll invite them along to one of their open days, for example, and they'll say, hey, you can say whatever you want, you can be unbiased as you like, there's no problem. We just want you to see our products and tell us what you think, and also tell the world what you think, right? Okay, you know, as a content creator, as a YouTuber, if you are invited to one of these events, or you're given free equipment, right? And if you just say all negative things, guess what? You're not going to be invited again. You're not going to be sent free stuff again. So therefore, in your mind, you're automatically thinking, I can't go full Terminator on this product or this company. I've got to ease it back a little bit and just be a bit more, I've got to give it more of a positive spin. You're playing the game. I don't blame you, but you're playing the game. But as the audience, we're not getting the real deal. That's what's happening. I'm not necessarily saying that the companies are having an influence on these influencers to say positive things, but they know, and the content creator knows, that if there isn't a positive spin there, then there isn't going to be any repetition of this. There isn't going to be any future potential videos to be made or kind of business opportunities as well. I mean, I liken this to a few years ago when I was looking to do motorcycle reviews, and a particular dealership said, yeah, look, you can take the bikes out, but you've got to say good things about it. You've got to say positive things. So I was like, well, hold on a minute. First of all, no. I'll just say what I want to say. So the conversation ended there and then. So, well, no, that's fine. I'm not here to be your mouthpiece. So just watch out for the people who are just being a mouthpiece of something else. Whether it's a company, whether it's a political party, whether it's some kind of pressure group, whether it's some kind of social agenda, whether it's kind of some woke ideal. I'd rather listen to the person with independent thought rather than somebody else. Now, it doesn't mean that whatever anybody is saying is right or is wrong. Just because you follow the herd, you follow the pack, it doesn't make you wrong. Just because you believe in a particular product, whatever, doesn't mean you're wrong. But it also doesn't mean I'm wrong if I think something completely different. In fact, that's the perfect place to start a good conversation, isn't it? When people are sitting on either side of the table, but they're willing to have a conversation, willing to engage, and willing to listen to another person's point of view, and start dissecting and asking questions of each other and each other's point of view. And this is where I look about the everything is awesome in the world, in the dreamlike world. If we're asking questions of it, if we're asking questions of the positivity of a product, of a service, of a whatever it is, then we're probing. We're trying to find out more information. We're trying to learn. And we're trying to look at this from a balanced point of view, but we're trying to dig into the reality. We're trying to see what is actually the matrix. We're actually trying to see what is the reality. Now, some of us, as I said right at the start, don't want to be in reality. We want to be back in the dream world. We just want positivity. We all want sunshine and flowers, right? Of course we do. That's all I want. I just want peace and love and harmony in the world, and I want sunshine and flowers. I want to be able to laugh. I want to be able to laugh a bit more. I don't want to cry. I just want to laugh. I want to have fun. I want to see funny things on TV. I want to see comedy. I want to see drama. I want to go for long rides. I want the sun on my face. I want to, I want my, children to do well, my partner to do well. I want to have, financial prosperity. All these things I want. Of course I want. But I know, and everybody should know in this world, that you can all want those things. It doesn't make it so that will happen. It doesn't mean that any of this will come true. So looking at something with your eyes wide open, I suppose, is the moral of the story. Eyes wide open in anything that you do and in everything that you see or you hear. Ears wide open, I suppose. Always look, always ask questions. always be judging whether something is awesome or whether it's something else entirely. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, hope you like the podcast. If you like what I do here, don't forget to like and share the video if you're watching the video podcast. But you can check out the podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google, and YouTube, of course. And just like and share, subscribe, and do all those good things. And I will catch you again on another podcast coming very soon. Bye now.